Everyone's obsessing over Dubai chocolate, but $100 to make a bar, not happening. Today we're going to make it elegant, affordable, and actually worth the hype in a martini glass. I'll walk you through every step using ingredients that you can actually find, plus my secret for getting that signature Dubai choc crunch at home. And if you stick around to the end, I'll reveal one mistake that ruins texture so that your version ends up flawless. Now, the first thing we're going to do is prepare our ganache. Now, you can use any type of chocolate you want for this, white, milk, or dark. I'm using milk because throughout this recipe, I want to incorporate 3 different types of chocolate. I'm going to use the ganache to really showcase the milk in this one. So let's go learn how to do that. Your choice in chocolate will affect the outcome of your ganache. So the better quality chocolate that you use, the better outcome that you're going to have. We're going to slowly melt the chocolate over some boiling water. Now, this can be done by pre-boiling the water and just sitting it on your bench top. You don't actually have to have it over the stove. We're using 375 grams of chocolate and half a cup of heavy cream. Now, the cream has been heated up. Being careful not to let it boil, because if the cream does come to the boil, this can lead to it separating in your ganache. So heat it up to the point where it's hot, and then we're going to add it to the chocolate and mix it through until you get this beautiful ganache finish. Now, before we pop this in the fridge, I want to show you a little tip that'll help you take your ganache from basic level to bakery level, and that is knocking these air bubbles to the surface and popping them with a toothpick. Set it aside in the fridge and let it settle without any of these air pockets in it, and you will get a silky smooth finish every time. All right, so now that we have our ganache, we're going to put this aside and we're going to prepare our biscuit base. My preferred biscuits for this process are McVitties Hobnobs, but you can use whichever you like. Get them all nice and crushed up, melt some butter, mix them together, and you've got your biscuit base. I'll put the ratios in the description below for you. Okay, now that we have our biscuit base prepared, we're going to drop some into the bottom of our glasses and get these set aside so they can set while we make the rest of the layers. Now, you can also just use a standard glass. You don't have to use a martini glass. I just think that they're going to look spectacular at the end, but use whatever you have available to you. Now, if you have gold leaf available, I would recommend using it for this part of the process. It just is going to add a little extra specialness to the end result. So I'm just dropping a little bit in the bottom of the glass before putting my biscuit base in there, so you get that classic Dubai gold shine at the end. We want to be quite specific about just dolloping that on top there. We don't really want to disturb the gold leaf too much. Now, how careful you are here will come down to how beautiful those final layers look at the end. So take your time with this part. Okay, so now that we have our biscuit base ready and our martini glasses set aside to set, we're going to move on to making the pistachio paste and the Kataifi pastry. All right, so chop your chocolate up nice and fine so it melts nice and evenly. Pop it over the top of hot water like we did in the previous process. Once your chocolate's completely melted, add the pistachio cream in, mix that through until it's nice and smooth, and you're then ready to add your Kataifi pastry. All right, so this part of the process is really easy. We just get the pastry into the pan with some melted butter, and we keep stirring this continuously to make sure that we're getting a nice even coating and we get that crispiness across all parts of the pastry. Now, to get that signature Dubai choc crunch, you want to make sure you don't remove it from the heat too early. Wait until you get a texture that looks like this and you can hear that crunch when you touch it. All right, we have our pistachio paste ready to go. Our pastry that has now cooled down. Oh wow. This sounds amazing, doesn't it? Let's start mixing the two. Now, this will come down to personal preference as to how much pastry you want to have inside of the pistachio cream. So play around with it, get a consistency that you're happy with. Okay, so you can see that I've gone for quite a thick consistency here. I really want that crunch to come through. Oh, sounds great. Okay, so let's pop our pistachio pastry mix to one side. and return to the ganache. We're now going to pop these into our Martini glasses. So while our biscuit and ganache layers are setting in the fridge, we're going to move on to making our cream topping. Today we're going to be using a Chantilly cream. Now the difference between a whipped cream and a Chantilly whipped cream is basically we're adding some flavour and some sugar to it. Standard whipped cream is literally just cream that's been whipped. So today we're going to add a little bit of actual vanilla bean, some vanilla bean paste and some icing sugar to our cream. The ingredients for our Chantilly cream is 1 cup of heavy cream, 2 tablespoons of icing sugar, and you can see here I'm sifting it to make sure that we don't get any clumps. We're scooping half of a vanilla pod into the mix as well, with a teaspoon of our vanilla bean paste. Once all of this is combined, turn the speed up until you get nice firm peaks in your cream, and then it's ready to pipe. Okay, so while we let our Chantilly cream rest, we're going to move on to making our chocolate toppers. So these chocolate toppers are being made with tempered chocolate. If you haven't tempered chocolate before, follow the link that you can see on the screen and I'll walk you through it step by step. Now I'm sifting cocoa powder onto the bench here so that the chocolate won't actually adhere and makes it really easy to remove it once it's done. Now you can make any style, shape or size topper that you want. I've gone for a circular design here so that I can use my really cool little wax stabs to pop my logo on them. You don't have to be that fancy about it, just make whatever design you want. Now to give these a really elegant finish, I'm using some gold luster and a paintbrush to give them a golden shine. Okay, so while our chocolate toppers are setting in the fridge, let's get this layer of pistachio Kataifi pastry onto here. We want to make it about twice as thick of the layer of ganache that we put underneath. Now if you're enjoying this recipe and you'd like to see me make more desserts like this, don't forget to leave a subscribe and chuck something in the comments for me to let me know what you'd like me to make next. Now if you have some gold leaf available to you, I would recommend popping it around the outside of the glass here, and make sure you stick around for the final reveal because this part here is what makes this version truly elegant. Alright, so we're down to our second last layer, which is another layer of this delicious thick fudge-like ganache on top. Okay, so we're up to the final decoration stage. I've got my Chantilly whipped cream here in a piping bag because I want to give this a really elegant finish. However, pop it on there with a spoon if that's how you prefer. I'm also using a Russian ball tip for the piping method here, and I'm literally just going to squeeze and rotate back and forwards to create this beautiful spiral on top. Okay, now you can finish these off however you like. We, however, did make some pretty fantastic gold toppers earlier, so I am going to place a couple of these. Which one do I, oh, this one's really nice. I like this one. They look pretty fabulous, I think, don't they? Alright, so now that we've finished decorating, we have our final product. I've used a little bit of Persian fairy floss on a couple of them here, which I think looks really fabulous. But geez, don't they look amazing? I hope yours are looking this fabulous at home. And if you did make these, please send me a photo, link me, let me see what you've done with these. Now, if you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see something else with some chocolate work in it, follow me over here to this next video where we make Wonka's chocolate balls. It's a lot of fun. But thank you very much for joining along today, and be sure to let me know what you thought of the whole design. Do you like all the layers? Do you think that there's another flavor that maybe we could have incorporated? Let me know in the comments below. See you next time.